Okay. All right. That's good. All right. Good morning. Today we'll be working again, as we often do, on the neck and shoulders in our seated, stable chair position. So all you'll need for the class is a stable, steady chair. And I'll be giving the cues along the way, and then you'll follow my lovely demo, Susan. So if you have any questions and you'd like to put them in the chat, you can do so, and I'll get to those at the end of class. All right, so come to seated in your chair, and we'll come a little forward off the edge of your chair so that your sit bones are really securely at the edge of your seat, and that your feet are solid in the ground. And Susan, I'm going to move you back a little bit so you can see your feet still as you're that far forward. There we go. And then we'll sort of start from the foundation and work our way up as far as stability of alignment goes. So looking down at your feet, think about broadening the feet side to side. So from the ball of your foot out to the edge of your foot, you're putting as much of the surface area of the ball of your foot into the floor as you can. And then you're lengthening your foot from front to back. And the toes lift up so that you're really feeling all four corners of your foot solid in the ground. So these are the four corners, and they're grounded down into the floor. And release all that effort for a second after we just did all that, and soften the legs, soften the knees. And then we'll take that action again, really paying attention to how it feels in the hip and what happens in the hip. So foot grounds, and feel the stability that begins to create in your hip. So all the muscles in the hip that stabilize here at the pelvis begin and turn on at the foot. So that's why we put so much emphasis on the foot. So as we go through all these cues, be sure to maintain that throughout the practice. So I'll be giving reminders to stabilize feet, but it's always in play. So after the four corners of the feet ground, you can either leave the toes lifted like Susan has, or ground the big toe. And this creates a containment at the foot and a stable foundation for the arch of the foot. So it really activates the arch of the foot to support you. And after you get the big toe down, really ground to the outside edge and broaden the foot. Good. And then you may notice, like it did for Susan, it kind of wants to pull your knees out, really activate the inner thigh so that the activation stays steady. To really make sure that's in place, bring your fists in between your knees and squeeze your fists with your knees, and that'll turn on the inner thigh, and keep broadening the foot and squeeze the knees, and then remove your fists, but keep a subtle activation between the legs. Good. And then bring your hands to your hips, keeping everything below in place. Just tilt your hips forward and back a few times. And you'll feel that the weight comes forward onto your sit bones and then back onto the back of the sit bones. And you're feeling sort of that overarching back as you tilt forward, and then kind of a slumped back as you go back. See if you can start to make that action smaller and smaller, and find a place where it feels like your pelvis is balanced front to back. So it's will be different for each person exactly where that is, but there's a gentle natural curve in the lumbar spine and the low back, and the low belly is slightly engaged between the hip bones to hold the pelvis in place. Good. And then we'll hold all that in place, and you just bring your hands to the front of your thighs, and then we'll bring attention to breath. So breath comes in and down, and we'll try to find a level of activation with all those things that we've already kind of touched on so far that is stabilized but also easeful, so that you're not gripping and over-efforting it, but you're taking the action in a gentle, consistent way. Good. And with your gaze, you can just bring your gaze soft and in front, holding the eyes still, and the mouth is gently closed, and the tongue is resting on the roof of the mouth, and breath is coming in and out of the nose. Good. So with this stable foundation, this is a really good way to ground yourself. You could think of this being in place even when you're sitting at your desk, or anytime, say you're in an interview or a meeting where you really need to ground into yourself and stabilize. This action at the foot and this balanced pelvis are really helpful for bringing us down into the present moment. And then add the awareness of breath, and here we are. So just noticing the breath and how the breath moves your torso. And see if you can feel breath come in and down, and the action of the diaphragm will move down, causing it to feel like the breath is flowing from low to high. And then once you get that pattern breath in place, see if you can bring a little bit more breath to the side bodies and the back body. So there's this kind of filling of breath from low to high as you inhale, and then emptying as you exhale, while you're really attending a stable foot. The chest, and gently with your inhale, moving left or right ear to shoulder, and then back center as you exhale, and then the opposite direction. So just a half circle in the front, connected to your breath. And as your neck begins to get a little bit more spacious, you can take the neck a little bit more to the side, and even explore if you might want to go all the way around through the range of motion that's available to you. Either continuing with that half circle or going all the way around the other direction. Just being aware of where breath is moving in your torso and areas of neck that are tight. And the next time your chin comes to your chest, hold there, just let the back of the neck relax and the head get really heavy. And if you can feel the stretch move into the top of the shoulders, and really move the elbows down towards the ground. So pressing down through the elbows to really lengthen the top of the shoulder as you're in this relaxed position. The chin towards chest, feet stabilized. So let the chin come down as far as comfortable. And then for a few breaths, watch your torso fill. So belly fills, and then it moves up. So really become aware of the way breath is moving through your torso. And on every exhale, see if you can let the head hang a little bit more and release the tension through the neck. And then as you're looking down here, look down at your feet and notice if your feet are straight like Susan's, or if there's a tendency for a toe to turn out one way or the other, and really bring your feet to be as parallel to one another as possible. And then check in with the four corners grounded, and then the big toe grounds, and stabilize there. And the floor is a hammock-like muscle at the base of the pelvis. So there's a gentle lifting in and up at the three main areas of the pelvic floor: the urethra in and up, and then the perineum in and up, and any area that you can gently lift in and up to create some containment at the pelvic floor as you ground the feet down. Those two things happen simultaneously. And as you get that activation, you can kind of feel a little lift through the base of the torso. And then engage your glutes in this position also. So you're seated on the glutes, see if you can engage them, and then give it a little zoom, a little lift up. Good, and then relax the glutes. So keep the pelvic floor lifted, engage the glutes as you inhale, and relax the glutes as you exhale. And so we're waking up the foundation, and the engagement of the glutes really adds a ton of support up the chain for the spine. So next time you engage the glutes on an inhale, maintain the engagement. And then as you exhale, see if you can just soften it a bit without letting them go completely. So this is really creating the stabilization and attainment at the foundation of your seated posture. Good. And then chin to chest again on an exhale, and on an inhale, looking up and back as far as you can. And then as you exhale, back down. So all that we've stabilized in the low body is still in place, and now we're mobilizing at the neck in rhythm with the breath. And now, no matter how long your inhale is, that's how long your trip to looking up at the ceiling is. Exhale is matched to the movement of your head back down towards your lap. Next time you look up, as you come back down, lift your head up to a level. So feeling the eyes at the center, and we'll make an emphasis on the positioning of the head ramp. So it's a movement of the chin towards the center of the throat and an extension up through the back of the crown of the head. So if someone were like, lift me up by my ponytail, it's really extending the spine through the internal action. So the difference of this position and this position is what's going to help release all this area of the upper back and shoulders. So holding your neck in this position as we begin to move into mobilizing the shoulder is important. So maintaining that position, back to center, turn to look over the other shoulder. And seeing if you can keep everything below the neck really still and stabilized, so that only the head is moving. And that's all happening in an easeful rhythm of your breath, while the feet are stabilized and the pelvic floor is in unison, gently lifting, and the glutes are slightly engaged. Good. So all of these specific details really bring you into the present moment and into a deep feeling of the actions that you're taking. And next time, turn over your second shoulder, back to center of the head, pause there. Take a few deep breaths with the gaze soft and aware actions that you're taking, from foot to hip, all the way through the back of the crown. And then as you exhale, soften any over-efforting that's possible to soften while maintaining the gentle engagement. Good. We'll bring your hands to relax down at your side, so your arms are just kind of relaxed down by your hips. And then on an inhale, we'll arch the upper back and bring the shoulders towards the ears. And then on an exhale, think about lots of movement in the upper back. Squeeze the shoulders together in the back and bring the shoulders down, long through the top. Inhale, arch through the upper back, squeeze the shoulders towards the ears. Good, and then move into that upper back area. So hand really relaxed. And listen for all of the sounds. Don't press into the rotation more than necessary. Just go through the easeful, pain-free range of motion that's fairly silent. Maybe some pops as you loosen up. Good. And switch your direction. So now you're inhaling, moving back, squeezing between the shoulders and up towards the ears, and exhaling, releasing, falling down. A few more. And still ground through the feet, feeling all the positions of the lower body gently. And then one more, and we'll start to make the circle into a spiral. So each time you move around, it's getting a little bit smaller of a circle and a little bit smaller of a circle until after 3 or 4 rotations, you're feeling the center of your shoulder socket. So this stabilized shoulder where your chest is engaged, your back is engaged, gently to hold your shoulder at the center of the pocket. So sort of investigating and putting that there. Good. And then once you find that, relax the shoulders and bring your attention to your palms and broaden your palms. So just like we did the foot, you're broadening across the palm and sending gentle engagement down hands. And then bring your attention to the head ramp. Moves to the center of the throat, extension up through the back of the crown, gazes gently in front. Broadening through the palms and grounding the feet. Now we'll bring some attention to the higher release through the rib to get some more overhead mobility, but really we're sacrificing the spine. So take a deep inhale, and on your exhale through the mouth. That'll activate your transverse abdominis, the upper abdomen, and hopefully engage your rib cage to be right over your hip bones. So maintain that gentle activation, inhale and exhale. And then on your next inhale, bring the arms up to the end of your range of motion overhead without losing that activation at the torso here. And then on the exhale, bring them back down. Palms are broadened the whole time. And the movement and the breath are one thing. So as you start the inhale, you start the movement, sensitively feeling for the end of range of motion overhead without any sacrifice of spine. And then as you exhale, smoothly transitioning back down, while simultaneously remembering action at the foot, a gentle engagement at the glutes, and the ramping of the head. So a signal that you're maybe trying to go far with the overhead action is that your head jets forward. So keeping your awareness on a stillness at the head and neck will help you know where the edge is and when to reach back down. So moving it this way, little by little, you'll get more and more overhead range of motion without moving into compensation. So see if you can feel that. The next time you take action, there's a little space. Good. Inhale, in and down, comes down, arms come up, and exhale, moving down. Breath and leaves the body as the exhale happens. Good. If you need to take a break, take a break. Good job. So and then once you feel some release or you're recovered, take a few more. So this action of getting your arms overhead, I can't emphasize the importance enough. It's really crucial for maintaining mobility of the head and neck, because as we keep our arms in this down position all the time, we're really building up lots of tension and dense fascial tissue in the back that may make it able to get the arms overhead. And think about energizing through the palms, gently broadening as they come up. Good. And next time you come down, we'll take a little break and shake the arm out. Release some tension. All right, now we're going to build strength and endurance. We'll broaden through the palms and bring the arms up. And at the end of your range of motion, pause. And remember your feet and reaching through the palms and stabilizing your low body and the foundation to get more support for holding at this overhead position. Soft elbows, but reaching through the arms. And whenever it feels like you have to move into some sort of compensation pattern to stay, that's how you know it's time to come out. So find your edge and developing your capacity today by honoring breath and the ability for your breath to stay stable, steady, and then coming out before you kind of have to fall. So there's a little grace, and then shaking out. And pull shoulders a bit. Oh. Okay, we'll bring the hands to the chest. So palms stack at the chest and the elbows are relaxed. Head will stay right at the center of your chest. So the head ramping position is in place. And we'll see if we can just move this upper chest area. So just the thoracic is moving with the head at the center. Inhaling, we'll turn. And exhaling back to center. So the belly button stays pointing forward, feet stay stabilized, glutes are on. That stability supports being able to find a possible range of motion in the thoracic. Good. And keeping the head at the center helps you really feel if the movement's happening where we intend the movement to happen here, so at the center of the chest. And so as you turn one direction, the side that you're turning towards is contracting and the opposite side is relaxing. And keep moving in this way. Again, taking a break if you need to with these joint mobilization actions. So these are mobilizing of the upper vertebra of the spine. If you begin to feel fatigue or it feels like muscles are gripping up, it can actually be building more tension than it's releasing. So if you need to pause and take a break and shake out before returning back to it to be effectively mobilizing rather than building tension, do so. Good, and next time you come to center, go the opposite direction. Let your head stay at the center, so like you're turning over the shoulder that you're, so you're keeping your head and turning over away from the direction that your shoulder's turning. Good. I always think this looks so graceful. So turning the head and neck the opposite direction as you're turning your shoulders. And it really loosens up and releases tension all in this area of the head or the neck, and possibly the jaw. And the whole time here, as we're holding stable and steady in the low body, we're building strength and endurance in the feet and the legs and the glutes. Again, taking a rest when you need to. We'll be doing this for about another 10 seconds or so. Good, and last time. Back to center, everything sort of sinks up in the center, and then for the neck and shoulders. So the arms will come out to the side, elbows softly bent, and palms are up and broadened. Good. And then your head will turn to the left. So the hand that you're turning away from as you do so turns forward and wraps around. So your head turns away and then back to center. So we're rotating these small rotators and all the muscles of the head and neck and kind of sniffing your armpit, I'm saying. So you're looking down and really seeing how close you can get your chin and nose towards your armpit. Good. And again, with these, especially with these small little rotator muscles, just going right to the edge, inside of end range, and back to center. And then finding a way to sync all that up so it feels smooth. Every time you come back to center, palms are up. And if you need to take a break at any point, do so. Good, and last time, rotate and back to center, and we'll release the arms down and shake them out. Very good. Release to turn the head. And now we'll move the shoulders through their full range of motion. So the arms will be down at your side, palms broadened. We'll come up and turn the hand at the peak of the range of motion and rotate back and around. Inhaling up to the end of range of motion, then rotating the palm and moving back and around. And feeling for your pain-free and possibly noise-free range of motion. Good. Noticing if there's a tendency to either release the feet and forget about them altogether, or if they start to grip up to try to hold on, seeing if you can keep the toes relaxed. And the action happening through the four corners of the foot. Good, and the head stays ramped and in the center. Good. And you can't see it, I don't think, but Susan's putting a really graceful movement at the wrist, at that rotation at the peak. Can add that in. The way to get some mobilization at the wrist. And the movement and the breath are one thing. Inhale lifts, breath moves from low to high. Exhale, it happens as you're moving through that back range of motion. Head stays ramped, gaze is fixed. The next time that you come around, place your hands on your thighs and really deeply relax the shoulders, relax the elbows. Yeah, wiggle out any amount that you need. And then bring attention to foot, and then to pelvis being balanced, and then rib cage stacked right on top of pelvis, and then gentle activation through the upper back and shoulders. So if I'm taking no activation, my shoulder will kind of arch forward. But if I'm going to really hold ideal posture, I'm going to gently squeeze between the shoulder blades and move my scapula down to activate the whole back body to hold that posture that we're after. And then the cherry on top is the head, chin moves towards the center of the throat, extension up through the back of the crown. Elbows are soft, palms are soft. And we'll take a few moments of breath attention meditation. So we'll change the pattern of breath that we've been using. We've been feeling low to high. Now see if you can think about breath coming into the space of the upper back and shoulders first. So not necessarily a movement up of the chest, but this movement back of the lungs, and then the lungs fill to the bottom. On the inhale and on the exhale, you're just simply releasing the breath. The belly can empty and then the chest. So see if you can feel breath moving in this area that we've really been mobilizing. So we've been moving your shoulders and your neck and this whole complex area in lots of different ways. Now take breath to that area and see if you can feel movement happen there. Notice if you can maintain gentle activation at the feet and gentle activation at the glutes and pelvic floor. And feel breath move through the back side of your heart. So the upper back and shoulders and the lungs fill to capacity. There's very little movement happening except for the breath. Seeing if you can feel the inhale fill without moving into strain. So you transition from inhale to exhale before it causes any jerking or hiccups in the breath. The breath transitions as smoothly as possible between inhale and exhale. Empty as much as possible on the exhale, and then inhale into the area of the upper back and shoulders, filling and expanding. So we're making all this space with our mobilization exercises, and then we're sending vital energy into that area via the breath. And this movement of breath from high to low can at times be a little bit activating. So if you find that it's agitating to your nervous system in any way, just return to the breath pattern of low to high. And then maintain this breath pattern and bring your hands up to your jaw. So we're just going to do a little bit of self-massage in the area of the jaw and down below the ears and a little bit under the jaw. So all of this area, we can tend to be unaware that we're kind of clamped around this area and holding lots of tension, which has a really big effect on this whole area of the neck and chest. So seeing if you can just with gentle circling motions or gentle palpating pressure, release some of the tension in the jaw. And you can move the jaw at the same time as you're doing that opening and closing. Feeling all this, such a strong, strong joint. And then move down and back to the base of the skull. So now some gentle soft tissue work right at the base of the skull. We can tend to grip up here and have holding tension if we're in that forward position a lot. So a really simple way to move circulation is to gently massage your neck with your hands. So if you notice that your hands are cold and your neck is warm, they're meant for each other in this way. So the cool hands can feel really nice on the neck. And then make your way down the neck to the tops of the shoulders. And this is a really simple and nice way to show some self-love and release the tension that's building. Good. And then come towards the front of the neck and just some gentle, really soft movements from the front of the neck and down into the clavicle area. Good. Okay, and release the hands, shake out the hands, and just do a few wrist circles and some movements with the hands that are as sort of fun and creative and mobilizing as possible. So how much can you move all the fingers and the thumbs? So every joint in the hand gets some movement as well as the wrist. And then we'll take the right hand, can place the left hand on the thigh, and we'll just do a little soft tissue work at the forearms. So our forearms can get really tight and restrict the mobility at the wrist, cause wrist pain. So as a way to build strength in your grip and release the tension in the forearm, this is a really simple way to start working and preventing things like carpal tunnel from happening. It's always fun to see where you squeeze, which finger is going to move on its own. There's all sorts of tools and different ways that you can begin to start doing soft tissue work. I find the easiest and often most effective is just with your own hands coming into contact with which areas are tight and tense. And then we'll switch sides using the opposite hand and opposite arm. And you can mobilize the wrist at the same time, so circling the wrist, see if that kind of works the muscles a little more into your gentle pressure of your fingertips. You can notice if the right or the left is tighter, usually corresponds to your dominant hand. And a good brain exercise that you can try for the rest of the day today is any simple thing that you're doing that you would always do with your dominant hand, try to do with your non-dominant hand. So develop your motor skills and the relationship between the two hemispheres of your brain. And it will train your patience also. Good. And then we'll bring the hands back down to the thighs. You might just notice the difference in blood flow to the hands and fingers. And take a few more deep breaths from high to low and fill the upper back and shoulders with breath. And then breath moves down. Good. Okay, so to finish up, we'll get a little bit more activity in the whole body together and sync up all this stability we've been building in the lower body with all this mobility we've been cultivating in the upper body. Everything that I've addressed so far as feet and pelvis and upper back and shoulders and head applies. So Susan's going to demo in seated and I'll demo in standing. So with, there we go, coming way back here, okay. So in seated, you'll bring awareness to the feet and lean the torso forward as if you were going to stand up as you inhale. So forward, like you were pressing up from the chair, and then as you exhale, come back. And bring your hands to the side. And this time, as you inhale and press forward, it's as if you're going to stand up, and then exhale, come back down. So seeing if you can move in and out of chair, and that way, from the chair, lifting up with the arms and back. So finding the edge of the range of motion in the shoulder, and really stabilizing through the low body. In standing, if you'd like to stand and try it in this way, as you inhale, arms come up, hips move back to the edge, and as you exhale, coming down. So from the side, the first movement of my hips is back, and as I exhale, coming back to the starting position, same thing as in seated. Okay, keep moving in this way, feeling the stability at the foot, this no side-to-side movement in the knees, whether you're in seated or standing. Always honoring the alignment of the spine first. So if I have to release my head to get further or get my arms higher, I just don't go there today. The next time you come into the position, hold. And bring breath into the space behind your shoulders and down. And exhale, soften where it's possible to soften. Keep grounding through the active feet, broadening through the hands. Good, and on the exhale, come out. So you have the option now for the next few moments to take a rest, to head right back into moving in and out of the pose, or to come into the pose and hold. So finding your level of work, honoring your capacity today. And I'm going to come out of the pose, but you stay in if you can, or move back and forth in and out as you like. How do you know your capacity for this pose today? Your breath will tell you. So if you notice that you're gripping up around the breath, you're not breathing, come out, take a few resting breaths, and then go back to it. Good. We'll be choosing your option for about 1 more minute. You always have the option to rest. In the same way as we did when we were mobilizing, if you notice that there's more tension being developed, take a break and release and see if you can find that quality of effortless effort. Okay, last chance to come in and hold for a few breaths. And then in about 10 seconds, we'll meet in seated. Exhale, coming back to the arms down by your side. And then bring your palms to rest on your thighs. And remember feet, pelvis, head, and we'll just take a few moments of breath awareness meditation again. So feeling all this stability from the feet into the pelvis, upper back and shoulders, and the positioning of the head. Gaze is soft and in front, and it can be with the eyes open or closed as you feel comfortable. Hands and shoulders are relaxed. And bring breath into the space behind your heart and fill and allow the breath to fill down into the bottom of the lungs. So imagine your awareness sort of shifting from being held here in the head to being held here down in the body at the solar plexus. And feeling the expansion of the breath and the contraction of the breath from this space oriented in the body. So you're welcome to stay in this seated meditative posture as long as you have available, but this will conclude our guided practice. As best you can, think about keeping either a low to high rhythm or a high to low rhythm or pattern of breath and a smooth, steady rhythm throughout your day. This is the most effective way to train the muscle memory of your breathing muscles to have this steady, smooth rhythm. And it's really helpful for the rhythm of your nervous system, coping with stress. Thank you all so much for practicing with us today. You're so welcome.